they're always there. Action Force are there. Action Force will dare. Action Force. Now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It is me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and you are lucky to be sitting here listening, hopefully paying attention. Hopefully you're not distracted, you're driving, you're out there, because we've got an action-packed episode of Joe-Nie Loves Action Force this week with welcoming co-guest, co-sponsor, co-host Michael Nie. Michael, welcome back to Joe on Joe.
Thanks, Joe. It's good to be back.
It's very good to have you back. And we are continuing our journey through the Action Force comic books. And I got to tell you, this chunk of books, pretty exciting.
I would say, the most action-packed of Action Force yet.
A lot of action in these issues. I really liked it. I loved the artwork. I love the storytelling. Listeners, if you're new to this little chunk of the show, we are covering all the Action Force stuff. You can find the PDFs on Blood for the Baron website if you don't have your own copies. Plus, Michael, this week, now someone announced they're doing an Action Force reprint. Is it these issues or what is it?
No, so kind of two iterations of Action Force. There was Battle Action Force, which were largely black and white strips that appeared in the Battle Action comic in the UK prior to this version of Action Force, which is the Marvel UK version, which is all colorized and came a bit later. At the real heyday or high point of G.I. Joe in the 80s. But so, yeah, what they're doing is they're starting from the beginning, which is great. So that's, if you really want to get to the beginning of what Action Force was, when Palitoy still had the license to make the toys before Hasbro took over and before Marvel took over in the UK, it's a great place to start. And those are stories that, are really hard to get a hold of and haven't been reprinted in 40 years, and I'm definitely interested in going down that rabbit hole. But that's more of like, and the website Blood for the Baron takes its name from the Baron Ironblood character that was very much at the center of that.
And we talked about that a little bit when we were covering the annuals, because some of the annuals that I went through were pre-Cobra.
Yes.
Like before they brought Cobra, because now the stuff you and I are covering it's full on G.I. Joe in Europe. It's the adventures of G.I. Joe.
By this point, Baron Ironblood has transformed into Cobra Commander. Spoiler alert, sorry. And but if you want to learn about Cobra Commander before he was Cobra Commander,
once a Baron.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, different publisher, different set of creative, different creative team, and it's kind of its own thing. Yeah. But at the same time, they did tie them together, which is
I'm excited for it. Off the top of my head, I don't recall who's doing it, but just Google it. They're going to be doing it just like the Skybound stuff. Like they're doing it as a Kickstarter, so I'm sure it'll be.
It's the Total Toy Books group.
Yeah, probably. I imagine it can't be less than $150. I don't think it'll be cheap, right?
No, and they're going to be huge. They're going to be. There's the announcement to pre-order is going up soon,
right?
But right now you can go to TotalToyBooks.com.
Soon we're recording this in June, so this may, by the time this airs, actually probably all the stuff will be out there. So
that's true. Yeah, there'll be 4 volumes by the end of 2024. So
all 4 will be out by the end of this year.
4 is not the entirety of the series. The first 4 volumes
will be out by the end of this year.
Will be available.
Oh, crazy! Yeah. All right, but yeah. So by the time you guys hear this, it's probably been announced. It's probably like an old announcement, but we're doing this in real time, and that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah,
and they'll look great on your shelf next to those awesome Skybound ones. By the time you hear this, those Skybound ones might be in your hands.
That's right.
Because aren't they saying August?
December delivery.
Oh, December delivery. What? Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking August. Maybe August is the end of the campaign or something. No, that's not true.
No,
July's the end of the game.
No,
I feel like there was an August something.
I'm not sure, but I can tell you by Christmas time, everyone is going. It's going to be an embarrassment of riches.
You're going to have to invest in super heavy duty shelves because there's going to be so much G.I. Joe books. Were you able to get? And again, when you're hearing this, is probably August itself. So months ago, were you able to get the signed book plate versions.
Yeah, so I heard your story, your account of, you were up and then maybe, went back to bed and got up again or whatever, came back a few
Sure.
hours later and you were eyeing the signed Snake Eyes version and you ended up with the signed Cobra Commander
It was
version.
6:15 in the a.m. So I was when I said I was up at like 5.
Got it.
But luckily woke up again in about 45 minutes later, and then happened to check my email, and then happened to see, oh wow, yeah, let me get on there. When I logged in, there were still something like 75 copies of the G.I. Joe one left, which I really preferred to get the G.I. Joe one.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in my cart. By the time I figured out any add-ons and all that stuff, it said too many people also had it in their cart before you.
Yeah.
So then I jumped out, and at that point, Cobra still had 125.
Got it.
So I grabbed Cobra, and then I checked out. And by the time I checked out, Cobra was done. So that was I got in right under the wire.
The truth is, I was right there at the beginning. I could have had whatever I wanted. And I couldn't stomach the extra $150 for the Storm Shadow print.
Was there an extra? You could spend an extra to get this. I missed that
you
part.
could have spent, instead of $600 for the 2 G.I. Joe and Cobra versions, you could have spent $750 before shipping and also gotten a signed Andy Kubert Storm Shadow print.
Oh, got it.
So I'm sure there's people saying, why didn't you do it if you could have? But anyway, it was a big price tag.
Well,
it was a lot to bite off.
Yeah. At this point, they've made $1.8 million.
Yes. And
I believe there's still 3 weeks left to go in the campaign.
It's phenomenal. So then there was that moment when I could have dropped 600 and gotten both versions. I'm like, it's a lot. So I made my choice and I did choose the G.I. Joe one.
Awesome.
And then, after a while, I'm like, maybe should I go back and get the Cobra one? And then it was gone, of course.
Yeah.
But yes,
there's a tickle.
You and I have opposing book plates.
I like that. There is a tickle in the back of my brain that is wanting to go get the G.I. Joe one, keep the Cobra one, obviously, because it's got but the one thing I'm actually not sure about is I don't want to unlock my pledge at all because I have that the first come first serve thing.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very wary about going in and changing anything about the pledge I made.
Yeah.
So what I might just make a new account just to get another, you know what I mean, to kind of get more.
I did do that.
Did you? Okay, yeah. Because we were talking our friends Jeremiah and Paul. You guys, I've talked about them a lot on the show. They're fantastic Joe fans. They've been guests and friends of the show and friends of me. We were talking about that. Like, hey, do you want this? Do you want, because we'll just do some swaps. Like, we'll take care of each other.
That's
like
great.
brothers.
Yeah.
It's great. And I'm like, I'm frozen. I can't change anything. I can't help you guys out. I'm stuck because I don't want to risk it and have to deal with it one errant click and then I'm screwed. So yeah, maybe I'll have multiple Kickstarters. Counts.
Well, there you go.
How great would that look on your shelf? Both the red and the blue, and then you can mix and match.
You could get crazy.
Like, why have you built a red, white, and blue American flag diorama of all the books of G.I. Joe? And how much did that cost? And how many times do you need reprints of the same comics?
The same thing over and over. Yeah, no kidding. Obviously, there's lots of nitpicks all over the campaign, this, that, and the other. I'm just going to say this with the gilded edges. There's red, white, and blue gilded edges now of the pages.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Well, we'll delve. And of course, everyone's got these by now, right?
Well, gilded means
shiny.
I think technically. So they're shiny and they're red, white, and blue.
Yes.
That's funny.
So when you look at the book, the side,
was that
pages,
one of the unlockable tiers? If they hit a certain dollar amount, they were going to do it.
Yeah, and they did. And so there's red, white. Well, not white. Red, white would just be the pages. There's red, silver, blue, and gold.
Oh, and you can choose?
And no, they just assigned, every there's 4 volumes, right? And so they assigned one color to each of those.
Got it.
The only thing was, I don't think they gave it a lot of thought to, because every cover has a character, right? And so, for example, with the Cobra set, there's Cobra Commander, the Baroness, Storm Shadow, and Serpentor. So had they really been thinking about it, Serpentor would have been the gold, right, because of his uniform. I would have made Storm Shadow silver because he's like in that color profile. And then I would say Cobra Commander blue and Baroness red. But it's more randomized than that.
Got it.
So it's just, however you want.
Hey, yeah.
It's going to look good on a shelf.
It'll look good. Plus, yeah, it'll look good on the shelf. But that's the interior. How often do you see that? Because on the shelf, aren't you going to put the spine out?
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at the books backwards?
Right, exactly. But that's the thing. You buy two sets and you could flip them. Again, going back to my original plan to build an American flag on my bookshelf,
totally,
entirely out of $300 compendium sets.
I mean, these things they're gonna like spangle from every angle. They're
Well, the real talk, what it has actually done I genuinely am thinking about getting another set just because why not? I kind of want the
well.
I kind of want the I'm more of a G.I. Joe guy than a Cobra guy, so I kind of do want that. But what it actually has done is really it said, okay, I gotta up my display game. And listen, listeners, there's no camera here, but I live in a house full of collectibles. Hey, listen, it's time for a good plug. Hey, go to my eBay store. Everybody, go to eBay, go to Joe and Joe Comics and more. And I do. I sell a bunch of comic books. I sell a bunch of toys, collectibles, all that kind of stuff. But that always takes up space. So I get it, Michael. I get it. I'm swamped by good stuff right now. But I need to figure out. And so I've been thinking about a nice way to get a nice shelving unit up.
Yeah.
That'll finally put out some of these classified figures, some of the Super 7s. And I got something ruminating in my brain, Michael. Just saying. By the end of the summer, this may be a moot conversation.
Okay.
There may be a placeholder for those dope compendiums.
This is exciting.
It's very exciting. Picture something like that shelf, but with classified figures and just a dedicated shelf. Now I just got to find a place to do that in that room, which is full of boxes. Hey, a boy can dream.
That's right.
A boy can dream. You know what else I can dream of? I can also dream of thanking our awesome sponsors, because this show is a dream. The show was a dream, and it became reality. And part of that is from our great sponsors, the Movies in a Middle podcast. They keep this thing going every week. So again, we're recording this in June. I think later on today I'm going to see that movie, The Watchers. By the time you hear this, I will have proven to either be folly or a wise choice. I think by the time you hear this, we will all have already seen what I'm predicting to be the movie this summer, Wolverine and Deadpool. That's right. I put Wolverine before Deadpool because in my heart he is. Obviously that's a front runner, but that movie looks great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't see me not loving that movie.
It's going to be amazing.
I don't know if it'll be good.
Well, it's going to be amazing.
But I think it's going to be right. I think it's going to be amazing.
It has to be.
I'm on board for it being just amazing.
That's
and just
right.
a fan fest of yes. I also, to segue, to branch a little bit, I think the people that run Marvel are not dumb. The Feiges of the world. Not some of the Disney people, but the Feiges of the world. They know what the last few years have been like. They've heard people. Mm-hmm. I think they're righting the ship. I think this is the start of the righting of the ship. That's all I'm going to say.
It's an exciting time. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're always talking about that at the Movies in the Middle podcast. So when you're done listening to these dulcet tones, tune in with them, give them a like, give them a subscribe, and also give us a like and a subscribe at Joe on Joe Pod. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Shoot an email over to me, joeandjoepod@gmail.com. Say hello. Say hello to Michael. Say how much you're enjoying Michael. Joe-Nie loves Action Force. Say hi to Michael. Say welcome back. Let's get back here and do those dry black and white British strips, huh? What do you say?
Let's get into it.
Full
force, everybody.
Full force, everybody. So this week we are talking about Action Force issues, was it 10, 11, 12, and 13?
That's right.
And they're great. Remember, these are 8-page stories, so they go pretty fast. They were bundled in with reprints. 5 pages even, not even 8.
They pack a lot into 5 pages.
I'm not even joking. when I was reading these,
Yeah.
I was like, there's so much action here. These got to be 8 pages because the way I'm reading them is they're just a continual PDF, scroll, right? So I'm not going issue by issue. Yeah, there's a lot of action in these. So much gets done. Take a note. Modern American comics.
It's impressive.
They accomplish a lot in 5 pages. So it's great. And we really dig them. They're the books that are bundled in with half of stories of the U.S. comics, and they usually have they tend to have their covers tend to be more U.S. based covers.
It's been about half and half.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. In the current iteration, and we'll see as we go forward. But of these 4 issues,
there's a few dope ones. Yep.
The first 2 are reprints of U.S. covers, and the last 2 are originals.
Yeah. So
And,
let's check let's do it this way. Let's check the covers out first. Then we'll just kind of go through the story.
Sure. And I'll point out, so all 4 of these issues were written by Mike Collins, and then the first one drawn by Kev Hopgood. The second 2 were drawn by Jeff
Senior.
Thank you. And then Kev Hopgood came back for the final issue again.
So issue 10, they're using the Zartan fighting a dragonfly cover.
Yes.
Is that
was
24?
25.
25. That was 25.
So yeah, that
Issue
was
25.
with new colors. But yeah, it was a Mike Zeck cover.
Yeah, really nice. They also, and this is me not doing any reference check. It looks like they've zoomed in.
Yeah.
And it's a bigger format too. The actual book, it's magazine size or close. That's what's frustrating about these is storage from a collector perspective. They are about 1/8 of an inch too large for magazine bags height wise. They're perfect. Their width is perfect.
Yeah.
But the British size is like 1/8 of an inch too high. So if you're going to pack them in mag boards, you got to be careful to not bend that top 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating to keep them in good shape. But yeah, so it looks like it's zoomed in a little bit, but then it's also because it's blown up. Maybe that's also giving that appearance as well.
Sure.
But it's that great cover. It's Wild Bill and would that have been Airborne?
Yeah.
I think that's Airborne in the
Dragonfly
in the
there.
dragon, the jump seat, and Zartan riding the swamp skier. Which, by the way, there's some swamp skiers that happen in these
The
issues.
water moccasin.
Or I'm sorry, not swamp. Sorry, swamp strike. Water moccasin. There's water moccasins in the Action Force book that look dynamite.
Yeah, and they've got them like on open ocean.
They're yes, those water moccasins are all about it. I literally couldn't remember seeing them used that well in the regular Joe books.
Copperhead is nowhere to be seen.
No, he's off getting pythonized.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But the water moccasins, and there's multiples, are incredible.
Yeah. Now, issue 11 is the Snake Eyes cover, and this is what's interesting about this. Do you know where this was originally used?
Yeah, so this is also a Mike Zeck cover.
Right.
It was from issue 53 of the G.I. Joe run. And what
was it a part of? The line wide
event?
move, yeah.
I remember it had the frame border with all the Marvel superheroes around it.
It was the Marvel 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And so they did the frame border with representations of pretty much every magazine, every book they had going on.
Got it.
And then they tasked all the books to do these solo headshots. Wolverine had one. Storm. I believe Cyclops was on X Factor.
Okay.
Obviously Spider-Man, but they all had these books. They're not hard to get, but I have seen prices go up on them because people are now like going, oh, let me get a collection of all those books. Thor had a great Simonson one.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get one of like every one of those. I think the Thing was Burns. I think it was no, it wasn't Byrne, but I think it was the Thing though.
Okay.
Anyway, for FF. Anyway, so you guys know those covers. You've all seen those covers. They've also been parodied a lot too. Reason I bring that up is, what about this? We normally don't see this much of this drawing.
Yeah.
It was cropped for the U.S. version to zoom in on Snake Eyes' face. These shoulders, that's new.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. That's why I was looking at this earlier. My brain was, again, firing going, there's something weird about that. Why have I not what's unfamiliar about that? And it's because they zoomed and they cropped it for those profile shots.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's very clean without that framed border.
Yep.
And it has been recolored. He's a bit more purplish here than
a little more cartoon purple. I have one of the statues. Like they're putting out statues that are both cartoon and then also comic accurate, and it's the same figure. They just color them purple or whatever. I think it was a bobblehead or some snake eyes or something in there, and my wife looked at him and goes, "Why is he so purple?" And I was like, "You don't understand. That's the cartoon version."
It's Pride Month, Joe.
Oh,
it's Pride
100%.
Month. It's Yojo June.
Speaking of that, they got a great G.I. Joe Pride T-shirt out there.
Yeah,
I thought that was awesome.
It was really great.
It's subtle in the sense of not garish and ugly.
Yeah.
Like it's just saying I'm G.I. Joe, and then you look close and you go, "Oh, there's the Pride colors." I thought it was great,
but also very 80s.
Very retro.
Yeah, it's got that retro video game thing going.
I really like that design. I thought that was really sharp.
It's very cool. That and the Transformers one too.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
It's
similar style.
Yeah.
So I love it, and I love seeing him in his cartoon look. I think it's a fun gig. I've got 2 of those now, two purple statues. I think it's because those don't sell as well.
Yeah,
and so I wait till they go on discount.
Sure.
And I'm not even joking.
Totally. The other great thing is Snake Eyes iconically is holding his Uzi on this cover. And inside of this issue, there's another Technical Arms Compendium page.
Okay.
The voice of Footloose from Action Force is telling us about 2 things, and they're both they're both firearms, and the first one is the Uzi. And then they also go on to talk about Flint's shotgun, his Winchester 12-gauge shotgun, his trench gun known as the Defender.
Did you have Uzi noises when you were a kid? Like, did you do the gun noises?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
We've talked about this on the show with other guests.
And I can't remember who made it, but we definitely had a toy that was like a very lifelike.
Oh, I had that. Yeah.
Uzi.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
A squirt gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was all black. It was incredible.
Battery operated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had a clip. Had a clip.
Yep.
The clip is where he kept the water.
So
totally had that.
So
wildly crazy that was a thing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But just
that was my Uzi noise.
Tiny
short little bursts.
That's good. I think mine was I don't know, something less effective, but I was trying. But
I watched a lot of A-Team. So whenever if someone would pull like an M16, I knew it had a different sound than an Uzi.
So a little bit of history. The Uzi, for anyone who doesn't know, it was designed by an Israeli by the name of Uziel Gale, and
named after him.
Yep. So
really,
the firearm was named after the designer.
I'm glad his name wasn't Frank.
Although the Punisher would have been okay with that.
Punisher would have been all right. Hey, pass me my Frank.
That's right.
Uzi, and also, of course, Terminator, Uzi 9mm.
Of course.
So Snake Eyes uses the gun of the Terminator.
That's right.
I think that's all respect. So then we go to issue number 12.
Yes.
And now this is a cover that is Action Force unique.
Drawn by Jeff Sr.
Mm-hmm. And it is a answer cover. If this were a rap battle and Snake Eyes put out a diss track about Snake Eyes that was his profile picture, this would be Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow's rebuttal.
That's right.
To say, yo, here's my version of what you just did, and I'm going to lay these beats down. And I love it.
It's great. It's great.
It is Storm Shadow profile side, right? Head on. He's head on.
Head on, yeah.
He's holding a sword above his head, staring at you. Mary Jane's excited about it.
That's right.
It's so Mike Zecchi. Look at those eyes. Like that's Jeff Sr. absolutely channeling Mike Zeck for those eyes.
And who is Storm Shadow?
Who is he? Who is he?
The only thing I don't like about this cover is it's for the first time we have a banner, an ad across the top of this issue that has nothing. Sorry, audience. We had a side conversation about things that have nothing to do with anything just now.
That is
and this is an advertisement for Cadbury's wildlife competition inside. And this is like, cross promoting at its worst.
Well, isn't sometimes those things make things classic.
That's true.
I think if memory serves, the first appearance of He-Man in DC Comics Presents has a "You could star in Superman 3" banner on it. if memory serves. They were running a contest to be in that Superman 3 with Richard Pryor.
Okay.
And that is on there are some major comic books that you go, oh, okay. Yeah. So yes, first appearance of various characters. Also, I know another one. Death of the Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
Death of the Phoenix. Doesn't that have a Toys R Us shopping spree ad on it?
Yeah.
So I put this in. It's in good company.
Yeah. It just, nothing to do with toys or comics or really anything. But it is hilarious to me because it's all about saving England's meadowlands and
Cadbury. That's the chocolate egg people, right?
chocolate bars and they do all kinds of things over there. But yes, it's about get your kid hopped up on some good chocolate and they'll enjoy this all the more.
Well, two more things. The sword on his back is great. It's almost 3D in the way he draws it. He just angles it just enough to put that angle on it to give you this 3D pop effect to it. I really love it.
Yeah.
And then, so you've got the two covers of who is Storm Shadow and who is Snake Eyes. They both say that. That is a tradition in comic books. Who is Donna Troy? Now I'm blanking on everything.
but this is the most classic version.
Who's Donna Troy is the biggest one that comes to mind, but like that's a thing in comic books to use that phrasing of who is things. And I know as soon as we get off this, it's gonna pop back in my head. But the biggest one from the 80s was who is Donna Troy, and it's usually when they go, the story goes on some kind of journey or an exploration of the whatever character. They're asking the question for you that they're going to answer within the pages of the book. So I love seeing that. And whenever occasionally you'll see it used on a modern comic, and I really respect that because it's a real throwback. It hasn't really been used in a long time, but it's definitely a staple of like 70s, 80s comics.
Yeah.
Kind of like I'll say George Perez, but he was aping books of the Superman holding Supergirl on the cover of Crisis like that. That goes back to sci-fi comics from I believe the mid 60s or something. The first, there's a website that has traced all this. Okay. And the first time that was used is like an old school sci-fi book of someone on a planet somewhere holding a dead buddy and going, oh, mourning. Byrne did it a bunch. Perez did it. And then since Perez has definitely made it the most popular. And then it's become a Crisis homage. That goes back even further. So stuff like that, I really love the lineage of.
Very cool.
And then we get on issue 13. Now this is
another Jeff Senior cover.
Jeff Senior, but he is now aping the chess issue. Is it 19 or 20? I think it's 20. It's Destro playing chess with the figures, and so in this case, it's Destro. It's more marionettes though. This is more. He's got puppet. Yeah, he's got marionette strings on his finger. Destro looming over Cobra Commander and a couple Cobra soldiers, but it's absolutely that vibe.
Oh yeah,
of Destro knocking over the chess pieces on that great cover.
Yeah, the mastermind at work.
Yes, and the story in this, which we're gonna get to, is great. Yeah, I really love it for different reasons, but this is a cool cover.
And it is unique in that you see the most art on this cover of any cover we've seen thus far, because this is the first cover without any kind of title card. It's just the artwork. It just says Action Force. There's no international heroes. There's no title, and so you really get to see. There's no barcode on any of these actually on the front, which is something that I actually really like.
Oh yeah.
You don't
didn't
see
really
that.
Notice that. It's great.
But yeah, and it's a very, very expressive Destro face. There's no way that's a mask.
Oh, that is not beryllium steel.
Definitely not.
Or is it molybdenum? Or is this beryllium or is it molybdenum?
I'm gonna go with beryllium.
Beryllium. I think it was beryllium. Something was molybdenum. That word, yeah. But you're right. That is not. That's one of those dudes who paints himself silver and hangs out on the boardwalk. That's Destro.
Destro in these Action Force comics, he definitely is the main baddie.
He really is, as we'll find out in this one. He's the mover and the shaker here. So let's jump into it, man.
Totally.
Action Force, the first story is called Moroccan Roll.
We're in Casablanca.
Trying to think of a pithy thing to say about the movie. I can't right now. Something like Oh, what's the line about where people go to? Isn't that from the movie? Is something like people go to disappear or something? Like they go to Rick's to not be seen or something like that. What is the line from Casablanca?
Oh,
Which, by the way, listeners, if you're listening to this and haven't watched Casablanca, just do it. It's really good. It's been a long time since I watched it, but there's some line about how the reason people go to Casablanca.
sounds like we all need to go back and watch it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Jog our memories
It's
here.
been a while, yeah, but it's really, really great.
Yeah.
So Casablanca is just it's a romantic, evocative place to set your story, right? It's if you're setting it in Casablanca, you're playing on the tropes and the mystery and the anything can happen-ness of what that movie represented, of the don't trust anybody of what that movie represented. So I love that they're doing that, and it's totally comes into play this issue with our friend Farouk.
He's a great character.
Yeah.
So we feature Alpine, Dusty, not my Dusty.
Not my Dusty. It's really not. Like they even got him in green. He's not even in. He's in the desert, Michael.
It's true.
He's actually in the desert.
And they commented in the dialogue. They're like, Dusty, if you look, that first bit.
Oh yeah, it says it's my kind of terrain.
That's right.
But he's wearing green.
Green, yellow,
And I get it. Limited color palette choices at the time. If they were to do yellow, he probably would blend in very much with the sand.
Yeah.
I understand that. But still, maybe go brown.
It's true.
If the sand's going to be yellow, maybe I would say Alpine's legs are brown.
Yeah.
That's a brown that could absolutely pop on Dusty.
Completely.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. And Alpine looks true to Alpine.
Alpine looks great.
And he's, actually I know that this is June, right? Yojo June, the G.I. Joe Classified Alpine figure was just
exciting. Did you pre-order
announced.
it?
I did, because he is one of my favorite, more secondary characters, I guess.
Yeah. Well, on the show,
in the movie,
he was a star on the show.
When Nemesis Enforcer breaks in to steal the BET and it's gung ho Alpine and Bazooka and he's like, keep splicing.
Yeah.
He had me.
Alpine and Bazooka were the Abbott and Costello, and Quick Kick was like the Jerry Lewis. You throw a little Jerry Lewis in there, and they were awesome.
Little foreshadow. Quick Kick, by the time we get to the end of these 4
Yeah.
issues, a very different Quick Kick.
I like it. I like it a
Is
lot.
going to make his first appearance in Action Force, but we'll get there.
Yeah. So they're walking down the streets, the 3 of them, Jay, Dusty, and Alpine, walking down the streets, and they meet their friend Farouk, who is a Middle Eastern man clad with the
Shriner's hat?
Shriner's hat. Yeah, there's a fez.
I know.
It's a
Fez, yes,
He's got a
thank you,
fez. Yeah,
thank
he's got a. You remember like 20 years? It was maybe 15, 20 years ago. Fezzes were a thing, and it was like people started wearing fezzes around, and there was a fez club on the internet. Do you remember this?
Not really.
It
not
was
really.
a thing. It was absolutely a
I
thing.
was
It
living in Wisconsin at the time, and I don't quite remember that.
in Wisconsin, they never stopped wearing the fez.
That's
they were
true.
like, there's probably so many Shriners in Wisconsin.
That's true.
The Shriners would drive down the street on their carpets.
Yeah.
Right? Remember
Yeah.
this? And they'd be in your local parade. They'd be on these carpet go-karts with their fezzes. I never understood what they were doing, but it was always exciting to see them because they were the dudes on the go-karts with the funny hats.
Yeah.
God bless them.
But none were as cool as Farouk.
None
here.
were as cool as Farouk. And he looks like he's straight out of a Bond movie.
Completely.
What I love is he's got the fez, so he's kind of gives him the old world look, but then he's in a modern business suit, which I think absolutely works. And he's telling them, "Hey, there's some trouble at a Cobra base." Does he? And I know he gives them the information. Does he say it in here, or do we just learn next time? He says,
He says we need to talk elsewhere,
Yeah.
and he starts to tell them about this oil rig.
and then right out of a Raiders movie, there's a snake charmer who's charming a snake, and then his slide whistle thing turns into a blowgun.
That's right.
Since we're doing Uzi noises. And he blow darts Farouk right in the neck. Dusty and Alpine, they chase after him. Lady J helps her buddy Farouk. And again, this is all very Raiders.
Yeah.
They're running through the market square. They run it. They just they trip over things.
The assailant gets on a horse.
Assailant gets on the horse.
Yeah.
Very much Raiders. Very much an Indiana Jones adventure here.
So they decide, because he's on a horse now, that they've got to catch him, and they've got their first appearance of the Awe Striker in
love it.
the Action Force universe.
Awe Striker, well, it's drawn very, very much to toy, but it really does look like Herbie the Love Bug there.
It does.
It's got a little bit of Herbie in it.
It
Maybe
does.
it's just the angle,
Right.
the smile on its face and the glint in its eyes.
Well, and the fact that it is missing an iconic element, which is
yeah, it
its
doesn't
4 tires. All wheels are gone.
Right.
Because the plan is to, get in this thing and pursue, but the tires have been stolen.
Tires have been stolen, so it's making a commentary on the crime in the streets of Casablanca, and they also, for the record, they also stole the giant machine gun, the blazer on top. It's been stolen. I'm assuming it's stolen because why would you not drive around with an Awe Striker with the giant gun on top?
They don't comment on that part.
No, they don't. It's because they don't want to tell anyone.
That's true.
It's like when you see in the movie and a cop loses his pistol, and he's like, "Don't tell anyone at the precinct that the bad guy took my gun from me." That's what's happening here.
Yeah.
They're like, don't tell anyone that our gun got stolen. So they steal some horses, and it is on for about a block.
Yep. Before the swordsmen, Cobra agents, that at first I was like, are they Crimson Guard? Because you can
Think Red Ninjas,
but sleeveless.
yeah, they're very much like when the Red Ninjas would pop out of nowhere.
It's true. Arabian Red Ninjas.
So this is a great page to jump in here and pause. And so this is Kev Hopgood doing the art. And I love his camera choices on these pages. This, where he put the camera with the horses and the ambush attack and all that stuff. The horses look great.
Low angle looking
Low
up.
angle, yeah. His decisions of where to zoom in, zoom out, what angles to put it, honestly are really, really good. I enjoy them quite a bit. The overall vibe is a little too sparse for me. And you had a little bit of insight into that. We were talking earlier that you were saying at that time he was like drawing on his mom's kitchen table.
Yeah.
And he was a young kid coming up.
He was, yeah, when he first got started. And I think if you were to talk to him today, these early Action Force issues, if he could go back and revisit them, he might. But everyone's got to start somewhere.
Right. But you see, and my compliment to it is you see the bones of a really talented storyteller there.
Right.
So you see someone that goes, oh, wow, they know how to tell the story. And that's what I really get from this is it's told really well. You follow the action. You get to see some exciting poses. And then you go, oh, there's just a finish level to it that will come with time, and experience and a drawing board.
Yes. Yep. Without Ma cooking the eggs, next door.
We're
in the same room.
Cooking up the... What would be a British the blood sausage?
That's right.
Kippers, something like that. And it really pops when you get to the next chapter. Is really what makes. Now this page is the one I've noticed it because I love this drawing of the horses. So they fight these. They're not ninjas, but they're just swordsmen.
Yeah, they're Cobra agents.
Yeah. And they eventually catch up to the blow dart guy. But before they can. They do the old venom capsule, tooth bite, suicide gambit.
Mass suicide. Yeah, absolutely. All 3 of them, actually.
Yeah. So the Joes have murdered these men. That's what the papers say.
That's right.
There's an international incident, and the Joes have 3 dead dudes on their hand, and Farouk is in trouble.
With his dying breath,
Farouk and Lady J says Farouk is dead. But he gives her the information. So when we go to the next chapter, which is the first chapter of the next one, there is that decided difference in depth would be the best word. There's just more detail on the page. And so that's Jeff Sr. coming in and doing these middle chapters.
Yes.
And whammo, what an exciting drawing.
Oh, yeah.
5 pages, there's no time for a briefing. There's no time for, all right, guys, there's an oil rig. We're going to go attack. No. It's straight up. That oil rig is being attacked. It's on fire. Fangs are firing missiles left and right.
Everywhere.
They're the Fang missile, which is great. Like, it's a drawing of the Fang missile from the toy. It's not just a random missile. It's the Fang missiles. There's not a cockpit to be seen.
And we're right down the barrel of these missiles.
The water
They're coming
is
right
just
at us.
being tore up with, presumably gunfire and just, everything about this picture is action.
Mm-hmm.
And nary a Joe in it. You're the Joe. It's all happening.
It's coming at
It's
you.
all coming towards you. Is a great. If you decided, if you're not reading any of these, check this out just for this picture. It's really great.
And all these titles, there's like a double meaning. It's rigged. This is rigged part 1.
Yep.
But here we are on an oil rig, but the situation is
we're going to find out that it's rigged as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. So now we go, and there's that drawing of the
whale.
The whale
is really good.
Really, really good, man. It is so toy accurate.
To scale. I mean,
you could see this. You could see the front seams that are the hatches for the toy that probably wouldn't be there in the real thing. It would probably be a real balloon or what's not diaper. What's the skirt?
Yeah.
The skirt would probably be one piece, but they draw it because they're drawing the toy, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, my impression is there they are, and the toy is right there in front of them.
Yeah. The colors, especially for the time, I'm assuming this hasn't been retouched. I'm assuming this is just a straight scan.
Yeah.
The colors are so great on these rockets. It's not just like, oh, here's an explosive red. It's white, yellow, red, then a heavy black for the smoke.
And just the gradations in the blue.
From,
the uniform of the Cobra Trooper flying the Fang to the body of the Fang to the sky beyond. I mean, it's...
Yeah, especially in a... when you're doing an ocean scene and Cobra's wearing blue and their stuff is blue, it's important to do that and make those distinctions. And they do, and it pops. Like, look at that jet stream, that jet trail, contrail, I guess, for the missiles.
It's great.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
That's a classified blast effect right there.
It is.
Like, in its best form.
It totally is. It's exactly that. And there's not a lot of dialogue in this page. We've got Footloose, Not My Dusty, and Shipwreck. They're firing back in the exposed cockpits. Yeah. It does, when you get this toy accurate, though, obviously, it does kind of highlight some design flaws.
Just a few.
Just a few. But they're knocking Fangs out of the sky. Wild Bill's overhead with Lady J. What I dig here is this Fang copter, who is still presumably mobile, and he's shooting his front laser. He actually, instead of trying to shoot Wild Bill, he actually tries to suicide jockey him, as Wild Bill says. So he uses himself as a missile instead of the missiles that are actually on his still drawn there. He still has missiles. He decides, I'm going to be in the missile.
Kamikaze style. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, he misses. He doesn't even do it to the whale, which I'm assuming would be a better target.
Bigger target for sure.
He tries to hit the dragonfly in midair. Which is amazing.
Yeah, it's
These
great.
people, they're lunatics, so of course they're going to do stupid things.
It doesn't work out.
No, it really doesn't. And this is this page is where I'm saying where there's some great water moccasin action.
Yeah, again, on open ocean.
Ocean
near the oil rig. It's amazing.
Yeah, they're skimming the surface. Look at the way they're drawn though. They are absolutely skimming the surface. They're not, like embedded in the water. They're above the ocean. The water wave doesn't even start until where it would actually hit the boat. Like, it's an accurate, really well rendered version of it.
Yeah.
And then it pops up into the air. Like, it's so into the air, you see that he's not touching the water. He's been in the air for 15 feet before he strikes the killer whale. He does what the Fang was trying to do.
Right.
He kamikazes it. But he's smart enough to do it at the whale.
Yes.
Which isn't going to get out of the way like the dragonfly is. And it works. And these are great drawings of the moccasin. The whale gets flipped. There's a lot of dragonflies. Like, this is a big assault. This is more than just these two vehicles.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in the skies here. Fangs and dragonflies everywhere.
Flint repelling with a couple green shirts. Not sure exactly who that is. Could be Grunt. Could be anybody. There's a bunch of green shirts behind him.
Great to see Wild Bill again.
In action.
In action. Yeah, I mean, we
And
saw
that's
him.
Cutter, right? Yep. Cutter's there, even though he wasn't in the drawings of the whale, but Cutter's in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And what is also really cool is there's not a lot of dialogue in these action scenes. They're action vignette pictures. It just says the conclusion is they won, they killed some cobras, they captured a bunch of cobras. And then they get to the end, and who's there to ruin the day?
Destro comes flying in on his private chopper.
Yes, he does.
And he makes it known that this is all legitimate, above board, that he owns this oil rig. And so we've got an unusual expression. We don't see this on Flint's face too often.
No, we really don't. We really don't. This is actually that face. We were talking about John McCrae last time. That's a McCrae face.
Yeah.
Well, again, whether it's intentional or not, we still don't know. But that's the kind of face that McCrae would use in Hitman a lot.
Flint is so shocked that his beret has changed colors.
On the same page.
On the same page.
It goes so. In the one panel, it's brown. So apparently Flint has crapped his pants because he saw Destro. And then the next panel, it's green because now he's sick to his stomach because they just violated international law.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this Destro face, very sinister, very while shiny, very non-mask.
Definitely not metal again.
There's no effort to make it look like a metal mask. But his medallion's different, a little bit different. Doesn't have the red gem in it, but it. Let me see.
Yeah,
it's just sitting at an angle. I was gonna say it's a little triangular, but it is square. It's just flopping out. But they seem to omit the big red crystal in the middle.
I definitely think the colorist was a little off at this issue because even in the Tactical Arms Compendium that I was referencing earlier, there's Footloose telling us about these firearms. But his mustache, I'll show you. His mustache is all green.
Footloose's mustache?
Yeah. So this is not a Halloween issue. We're not dressing up like the Joker, but there were definitely some flips.
Footloose was played by Cesar Romero.
It almost makes me wonder if either someone was colorblind for a moment or what, because both Flint's beret, which should be brown, was turned green in a couple of instances, and Footloose's mustache, which should have been brown, was turned green.
Well, I don't know if you know. I mean, back then, technically, the coloring was not done by the color. The colorist would tell you, they'd give you a color guide, but it was technically done by a person at the plant.
Yeah.
Skilled, but still a person at the plant. So
I feel like one digit of the color swatch number or whatever was off.
Right. So
one Pantone.
So
number.
With all that shockingness, that beret changing shock, we now cut to. I love this comic book tool. They do it in movies too. In movies, it always feels heavy-handed. I like it in comic books. I think it's because you're reading already, so it works to read some exposition, and it takes the place of a narrator caption where it's a newscast or a radio or news or radio or something, and it's just a broadcaster, and they're there to fill you in on everything that's going on. Frank Miller doing it in Dark Knight Returns is probably the biggest example that everyone can immediately think of. Here's some news broadcast. It's going to fill you in on a lot of information, set the tone for you, and not storytell it, because you can go back and read it elsewhere, or you can just accept this and roll on. And that's what this is.
And this is the start of issue 12. So this is
Correct.
Rigged Part 2, also drawn by Jeff Sr.
So it's a newscaster saying, hey man, the Action Force are a bunch of lunatics attacking this oil rig. And what I dig about this too is, if the last issue started with that amazing oil rig action explosion, this one starts with the same angle, same shot, but it's just smoke, crashed dragonflies. Like there's no, if you notice, I don't see a fang. It's not, or is that that could be a water moccasin though.
Sinking, yeah.
Yeah. But it's the remnants. It's the remains of the battle. And so if you look at those two, put them side by side, and they would be in different issues, the splash pages of each different issue.
Yeah.
You could see the the growth from, oh wow, this is the battle, and then wow, look at what's left.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So now we're back in Action Force's London base.
Yeah, and we see Mr. Trent. We haven't seen him for quite some time. He's
Is that Trent?
It is.
Oh, and the other dude is the guy on TV is
the politician.
So there's a politician being interviewed by this newscaster lady who is he's the MP for Latwan, South Wales, Mr. Elwyn Jones. And Michael?
Yeah, so again, a little bit of history. Elwyn Jones was in fact a politician. He's referenced in the book here as being Welsh, and he was in fact Welsh. And
Do you think they got the life rights for Elwyn Jones?
I suspect someone either had a connection or no. I do not believe that they went through any official channel.
I don't think they did either.
And Elwyn Jones had been retired for a couple of years at this point, but he was about 78 years old, and he didn't know it at the time, but he had about 2 years left to live. But he
Rest in peace, Sky Point.
Yeah.
Point to Elwyn.
Elwyn.
Sky Point to Elwyn Jones.
But he was enshrined forever in the pages of Action Force here.
Right.
So
I love that. That's really awesome. And
not a fictional character.
yeah, probably nothing that they probably can't get away with that today. There would probably be some lawsuit or threat of lawsuit, but Elwyn Jones, welcome aboard. And so that's Trent then, because they don't say his name.
No, I just recognize.
Yeah.
I just know.
And because in the last issue, when Flint was yelling at the other dude, that was a real dude too, but that wasn't Trent.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, there was a police commissioner.
Yeah. So this is now our buddy Trent. He's watching this news broadcast with Alpine and Bazooka.
And one thing to note on the news broadcast, they do reference pitched battles in the Florida Everglades, which is just a tie-in to the reprinted pages from G.I. Joe.
Awesome. So the Joes are in trouble. They really stuck their foot in it. And so there's also what we learn is that the guys are still on they're on the platform, right?
So
where
they've been captured.
But they're not being held on the platform. It's not. It's just at the embassy or something.
They've split up. So the team that was on the Tomahawk are still on the oil rig,
right?
And then these are the guys that got away. Bazooka and Alpine got away. So essentially, Footloose and Flint and Cutter. You remember when the whale was hit,
right,
and flipped? All those Action Force members were captured by.
But do we ever learn? I guess what I'm saying is, do we ever learn where Quick Kick is about? So Quick Kick enters the fray.
This is his first appearance in Action Force. So he.
But do we know where he's breaking into? I think I thought it was.
Oh, he's on the platform.
It is on the platform. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the guys that were fighting it, when they were surprised by Destro, they were then held by Destro.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And they're still on the platform. So Action Force needs to get their guys off the platform. So instead, they don't have Snake Eyes because Snake Eyes is over in the U.S. They bring in Quick Kick.
That's right. In a very Snake Eyes-esque.
Very Snake Eyes-esque.
Infiltration,
with
I may
less
add.
shoes, less shirts, and all service, baby.
Yeah, buddy. No fudgy bar, but
No fudgy bars. No fudgy bars. And he's great. Yeah, it's like a mini silent issue where he just breaks in, says a couple snappy things, and breaks him out.
It's great. That's great.
But he really looks cool. He's menacing. He's not funny. He's not a funny guy.
And I will see in the future, but from what I understand, Quick Kick becomes a fairly prominent character moving forward.
Oh, great.
In Action Force. So look out for more Quick Kick.
And what I dig about the way they tell this is all of this Quick Kick action is punctuated at the top of the pages by the news broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the British dude who will rest in peace 2 years from now. He's saying how terrible they are, how much they're doing it, but then you can just imagine it just keeps cutting to the action. So you could imagine if you're watching this live action, seeing Quick Kick doing this and hearing that guy continue to talk.
Yeah.
And his voiceover saying, they're terrible, they got to do this, they got to do that. Meanwhile, you get this great kung fu dude coming in, breaking dudes out. They're busting heads. They're in the, shipwrecks, busting heads in the hallway. Lady J, they're cracking people. Like, these are fun stuff. And over that is the specter of this political pressure.
Yeah, and it to me it felt a little bit like the jugglers in
Very
in
much
the Marvel
so.
G.I. Joe stuff, because he's trying to shut Action Force down.
Yeah. It's very much like what Larry did a lot with the things with G.I. Joe is that it wasn't just about the immediate threat. It was about the bigger picture. And it was about this. There was always a secondary threat of think about how great Cobra Island was. It was a great adventure. But meanwhile, he would just cut to these lawyers going to New York. What are they doing?
Yeah.
And then boom, there's big explosions, and we're taking Cobra Island. We took it. Hey, guess what, guys? Last page. The lawyers in New York said Cobra Island's theirs, and you got to get out. Like, same vibe. They did it. they would do, they've done, that's a feel like that's a staple of G.I. Joe storytelling, of always having this background political, not just guns and bullets machinations going on. And that's what we're seeing here. Because obviously this dude who, is about to die in 2 years, this dude is some kind of, he's a stooge of some, you're like, I don't trust him. Like, he's a mouthpiece for Cobra.
Well, and with Destro kind of being the main baddie here in these pages, we're talking about subsidiaries of Mars, essentially, or various fronts. And so the company that owns this oil rig, this Argent Corporation, is basically a front for Mars. And later we'll get to it, but there's reference to Silver Smile Manufacturing, which is another subsidiary of Mars.
Okay.
That Destro operates.
Smile, Destro.
And I just love that it's Silver
great.
Smile. It's
that's
hilarious.
Really great. I like that a lot. So it wraps up with Quick breaking them out. However, Destro watches the whole thing.
Yeah, and in some ways they're talking about on the news, if they don't go through the proper channels to be released, if they just break out on their own, that's all the more reason we can't trust Action
Force.
Force.
They fell into his trap
by
breaking their own guys out. As Destro says, you may have your freedom, but it has been gained at the cost of your credibility. Media interest in your controversial actions will force you to operate within the strict letter of the law for some time, Action Force. You have lost. And he cackles as they fly away in the Tomahawk. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a great, it's all that dual layer of storytelling. Really, really well done.
We just need that Destro voice, as he laughs maniacally.
Yeah.
I do want to reference in this final issue here in the mail call section, one reader does write in and inquires about a cartoon. Because they seem to be aware that there's a cartoon in the States.
But they're not getting it.
But they're not getting it at this time. It will come later where they will broadcast essentially, overdubbed episodes of the cartoon in England. But at this point, the question is, will there be a cartoon? And the answer is there's no plans at this point. So it's just interesting. And basically the editor uses that as an opportunity to say, and that's why you should even read more Action Force comics, because this is all we've got.
You know what would be fun and it probably wouldn't, I'm going to say it wouldn't be too difficult, but I'm sure it's a lot more effort than I would put in. You remember the old Marvel Jack Kirby cartoons where they took the panels from Marvel and they would animate them, and that was a style of online animation maybe like 10 years ago where people were doing a lot of that, like moving comics kind of thing.
Kind of pan and scan.
Do that with the Action Force stuff.
That'd be really cool, because
that stuff's never been animated. Get some British voice actors in there.
Yeah.
Take these panels and do that kind of like.
And again, even with
Marvel motion style stuff.
We were talking about the announcement of, those Battle Action Force reprints coming and that sort of thing. This material that we're going through is not in any pipeline.
Yeah.
So I would say it would definitely fill.
So listeners, animators, if you're listening, I know there's a lot of you talented people out there. If you're listening and you hear this, that'd be kind of a cool project. Take one of these Action Force, because the reason I say this and not like, something like the regular Real American Hero stuff, it's because we all read that. We've read that. We all have copies of that. This is something that not a lot of people know about. So if you do this, one, it'll look cool. Two, it'll be fun with the international, angle to it with the accents, but also fresh stories.
Yeah.
Fresh stories. People are like, I never knew Not My Dusty was so involved with Farouk.
And I'll remind listeners that these 4 stories we're talking about this week are available should you be able to locate from the 80s issue 8 of the G.I. Joe Comics magazine, in which they
But don't go shopping till I get mine.
That's right. Not exactly as available as the Skybound compendiums right now, but right on the cover says plus special Action Force feature, and sure enough, we just paged through it this morning. I verified that these stories are all in there. Granted, they're about I don't know, a quarter of the size of again, you got to get your reading glasses out to.
Yeah, they're small. Yes. They're small, but they're great for small hands.
Yeah.
I had my earliest comic book, real comic book stuff were in those. We're using digests. One G.I. Joe, literally, that was my first foray into G.I. Joe. My mom got me those digests, like the first few for Easter. But before that, even I had a Justice League one that I read cover to cover. And it was the Len Wein, what was it, 98, 99, 100 stuff with a hand that gripped the world, and they teamed up with the Justice Society and the Seven Soldiers of Victory. That amazing story. I read that thing cover to cover, and you're a smaller person, you're a little dude, just slip it right up. I love those digests are great, and actually digest size mangas are digest size. They're hugely popular.
I was going to say, honestly, this is a format that, frankly, you want to get kids like into comics or into Joe comics,
It's
like
their scale.
Skybound. If you're listening,
Yeah.
Here's another idea. It could be a super stretch goal for your Kickstarter campaign.
I think DC is just starting to do versions of that. It would be a little bigger than this, but like they're doing smaller versions of. I saw it on Twitter. It's like a collection of Watchmen, but it's manga digest size, so it's a little bigger than the one in your hand. But it's more hand friendly. It's more travel friendly.
I mean, this is a stocking stuffer, Joe.
That's 100%.
That'll 100%.
100% stocking stuffer. Easter baskets. Like it's there for it. Yeah, I like digests.
Bring the digest back.
Yeah, well, Adventure Comics went into digest for a while
for the kids.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to get slowly. When I see Adventure Comic Digest, I grab those up because I want a full run of that, and not that I'll ever have a full run of all the adventures, but that era, I like Adventure Comics, and yeah, they went to digest for a while, kept the numbering, and then came back for a little bit for full size. So,
and for those of us who are a little space challenged,
they take up less space
on the shelf.
I've always said I wish I cared about like sports and I was into baseball cards. They take up a lot less space than comic books.
It's true.
So our final 5-pager. To jump right off that amazing Destro appearance.
The man in the silver mask.
Man in the silver mask.
So it does feel more like a metal mask now.
It does look like. So now we're back to Kev Hopgood. It does look like a metal mask. It really does. Nice metal, metallic glints on it. His suit looks great. I love the belt.
Yeah,
I love the belt. And now he's in a very familiar environment. What's he doing in Casablanca?
Yeah.
What would Destro have to be doing? Why would Destro be going back to the source of the first bit of our adventure?
Coming full circle.
Who could he be going to see? Probably at Rick's. In fact, I think that's supposed to be Rick.
You're right.
Yeah.
There just needs to be a piano there.
Yes, that is all that's missing.
Yes.
Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, all we're missing is Sam. But that looks like Humphrey Bogart. And sure enough, Farouk is alive. That double-crossing, no good swindler.
He is, and he's even putting his hand on Destro's shoulder.
He's buddies. That's how comfortable he is.
I mean, he's one cool customer.
Yeah, he's congratulating Destro on his victory, and it turns out that Farouk purposely leaked that information to the Joes. And the reason they do that is because as Destro's talking to Farouk, we get some other random dude who is like, uh-oh, I got to tell, well, not the Joe's, Action Force.
Yeah, so this is essentially a spy for, he's an informant for Action Force.
Right. He runs to make a phone call, and he gets shot in the back with what looks like one of Destro's wrist darts. Although I know they're rockets, but it looks more like hit him like a dart.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't make it.
Doesn't make it. This dude doesn't make it.
Casualty count.
Casualty count 1
keeps going up.
What's hilarious about this, though, is what if he was just calling for, like, pizza? They technically don't know who he's calling. You don't see him talk to anybody. Nope. He doesn't get any word out. He doesn't go, hey, Action Force. He just moves to a phone that's on the wall. He's not pulling out a secret radio. Like, he's not, like, he's not doing anything.
You're so right. I mean, he's completely unrecognizable to Destro is all I can say, and he's never seen him before. Therefore, he's jumping in and he's not messing around.
Yeah, and Destro decides to shoot this and murder this man. Yeah, it's really hilarious.
In cold blood.
Cold blood.
Again, in a country where guns are less of a thing.
Right. What I want to see
is up in Action
There's
Force.
A panel here where he's reaching for the thing in his back, and he's on the ground, and the phone's hanging. What I want to hear out of that phone receiver is the person on the other end of the line, like for real. If I were editor, I would have had that line saying, "Hey, this is that," like in a real way. I would have it saying, "This is Action Force. Come in. Who is this?"
Or at least asking for a password or
Right,
something.
right.
What's the secret password?
Exactly. But in a comedy way, I absolutely want it to be like John's Corner Store. What do like this is operator. You have something stupid.
Yes.
Something real stupid. It's
Mr.
just-
Tasties, can I
this
take
is
your
Mr.
order?
Tasty. Yeah. Yes. And welcome to Good Burger. Can I get your order? That's what I want coming out of that phone in that caption right there. So we learned that Farouk's been working with Destro the whole time. And Farouk is just turns out underneath Farouk's crib is an entire complex for Destro to train his soldiers.
This is like Cobra's pit.
Cobra's absolute pit underneath the streets of Casablanca.
So
Once again, proving Cobra has a better funded operation, better marketing, better vacation spots. Everything about Cobra is top notch, and G.I. Joe has to deal with gobbledygook. So Destro goes down. There's soldiers training, and I love it. He says something like, "The human body is the best weapon."
Yeah, he's just feeling like he needs to get some exercise here.
Yeah.
So he sees a couple of Cobra troopers
Jumps
training,
into the fray.
jumps
that
into
is
the snake
great.
pit, and just roughs him up a bit.
Beats on these dudes.
Totally.
Just beats on them, and he's fantastic. And he's triumphant.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm just here to beat the crap out of these soldiers. You imagine that's your day, be like, "Hey, you guys want to spar a little bit?" Sure. And then you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're training. You're not loafing. You're not like sitting in the corner reading Cobra Monthly. You're actually training. And then the boss shows up out of nowhere. You're not expecting him. He also doesn't walk up and ask if he could can I play with you guys? Just jumps over a railing and beats the crap out of you. That's a day at work.
Another day at the office.
That's a day at work, Mike. That is an absolute day at
Hail
work.
Cobra.
Yeah, Hail Cobra. What's amazing about this is you really see the machinations that Michael was talking about earlier about how Destro is really the real true bad guy here. He talks about he's talking about how his plans are coming to fruition. Farouk asks, "What of Cobra Commander, the nominal head of our organization? Is he happy with what we do?" And Destro replies, "He dreams of slaughter and subjugation. He has no interest in details. I run Cobra my way." That is hammer dropping awesome.
Drop the mic.
That is absolute mic dropping awesome. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and again, couple it with this cover.
Yeah.
If I were to put a title on this cover, it would simply be My Way.
Right. Yes. And if you look at the cover, we're talking about the marionette cover. The strings are also on Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
He's not just puppeteering the soldiers.
Yeah.
He's puppeteering Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's fantastic.
I want a Farouk Super 7 figure.
Absolutely.
How about that? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously classified figure, but a Super 7 figure that's what they do. They do these random dudes.
Completely.
How about a Farouk? And with his neck could have a blow dart in it.
Yeah, and a removable fez.
Removable fez, little blow dart. Well, that would be the classified. Classified would be the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, classified would be the
Molded
removable
on fez.
Yeah. This was great. I loved it. This was a real banger.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a real lot of fun. I don't know what we're up for next. Now, do you know, does Farouk come back to play?
I don't know. I haven't looked ahead.
Oh, man.
So,
Well,
I'm living this.
listeners,
one issue at a time.
Tune in next time. You're going to find out if Farouk comes back. If he's a one-off, is he the Darklon to Destro's Action Force? What is he?
He means business.
Maybe Farouk and Destro strike up a relationship. I don't know, but I like Farouk. I like that he's a double crosser.
He's come back from the dead once.
Yeah, and I like that he's like, it's our Cobra. Who is this guy? I'm in. So join us next week for more Joe-Nie Loves Action Force. Michael, thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And now you, Joe. And Joeing is half the battle.
Full force.